My name's Dustin Hueston. I'm chairman of a nonprofit called the Waterford Institute, located in Salt Lake City, Utah. We also started a research school called the Waterford School, which has about 1,000 students. Parents pay tuitions, and it's sort of state-of-the-art, liberal arts kind of school with an emphasis on technology in the early grades. My background was I was I'm a little ancient here. I was a banker on Wall Street after college, and then I got pulled into the Korean War, where I became a naval air intelligence officer, briefing pilots on carriers in the Pacific. Had 2 tours through the Pacific. Came back and changed career interests. Got a master's from Stanford and a PhD from NYU in American literature. Taught at Brigham Young University for a number of years, Vassar College in the East, and then was chairman of an English department of a women's college outside of Boston, called Pine Manor. Then I switched careers and went to New York City and took over one of the best private girls' schools in the country, K-12, called the Spence School. The critical idea is that in the history of civilization, every so often there's a fundamental breakthrough because somebody finds a source of power that's been hidden and can suddenly use it. The nonprofit has invested $150 million in software. Pearson sold our software for many years, and they sold $500 million worth to schools. We got forced into going younger than we thought, because it turns out that the research is showing it all starts very early when you're young, for a whole series of reasons, which we now technically understand from brain research, is that each child is building the brain within his or her family. And their brain is being built on a daily basis by stimulation patterns. It sounds very mechanistic, but it's not. It really is. That's the way your brain works, and if that's the way your brain works, if you want to change it, you have to have that stimulation. It will end up in such a way that the family at home will pick up and start with the kids with technology, and it'll be run from the outside a little bit. The state, we've got the state convinced that we can take a 4-year-old at home, whether there's a mother or dad or whatever it is, and just put them on for 15 minutes a day, and we get an exponentially higher result. Because we can give them that vocabulary. We can take care of the 1 in 5 that needs tutoring. We can provide the pre-literacy training that doesn't exist. We can do all of these things. There are about 15 things that the research has turned up that should be done when they're young. That will become so powerful and pleasurable to the kids and the families. It's providing the guiding intelligence in the home and then to the school. And they'll work in combination. Information will flow everywhere. It will be available everywhere. It's a software battle now. Now that we're getting the information, what we can do is make sure that that child gets what he or she needs, and it's monitored for motivation, and the kids love to learn. It'll be full of games and music and all those kinds of things, but under it all is this steely, raw science, which says this is what the brain needs. 1 kid in 5 is going to need tutoring. Doesn't matter how bright he or she is. Has nothing to do with SES. So if I got 1 in 5 with tutoring, that means I've got to pick this up early. Reed Lyon was a giant in behind the scenes and ran for NIH, a subdivision. They had 44 well-funded sites pouring in for over a decade all the research data on reading and what went wrong in reading. And they found 1 kid in 5 needed tutoring, and nobody knew it. And they also found a hidden world of anguish and rage and shame because they couldn't get it. They couldn't get it no matter what the teacher said. And when they yelled at them louder, it made it worse. There is a way to get it by multisensory tutoring. We now have the research done to do that. But it should be picked up then, so they're not going into what we call print flight at grade 2 or 3, where they are refusing to be upset anymore. They're so embarrassed. They have such a sense of shame. As one scholar said, they shame out like a jet turning off. 2nd or 3rd grade. If you know this, and you now can do something about it, inevitably we'll be able to clean all of those things up. So what you'll see is the home will have a bigger part, the technology will have a bigger part, but it won't be just dropped in. It has to have guiding intelligence behind it. What has to be done is the software. Somebody of great wealth has to decide, I'd like to change personally the history of education. It's going to be software. It won't be smaller class size. It won't be this. It won't be that. We've tried every one of those. They're flatlined. All this capital, we've doubled and tripled our per pupil expenditure using the familiar, cozy, friendly, warm tactics. And the newest rage is preschool now, and we're going to get into preschools. Well, preschools have almost a nominal effect size, almost nothing. They're 0.10 as an average. That means on a scale of 0 to 100, they're a 10. You get, to do anything of consequence, it takes 2 or 3. If you get to 5, it's a really solid reform. If you get to 8, you're off the scale. But they're down at 10. So we love the kids. We know they need it. But we've got to get rid of the old emphasis on curriculum, which is love them, teach them to cooperate, do age-appropriate things, have them play. We don't have time for these kids. They've got to learn it. And you want high motivation? Watch them learn. Their self-esteem goes off the chart. You don't get self-esteem by telling I love you and all of these things. You get self-esteem by genuinely mastering something with your talents.